We finally had a plan. And on paper, it sounded impossible. But once we started moving, it felt almost familiar. Like a scene pulled out of some old story you read too young to understand. And then you grow up and realize it was never really about magic at all. If I tried to paint it for you, you'd probably think of that book from school, the one with the impossible parade of creatures and people working together like it was the most natural thing in the world. Lions and elephants and rhinos. Predators walking alongside humans without anyone flinching. Except this wasn't fantasy. This was the resistance. The last defense. The final thin line between a super AI and whatever was left of the human future. And somehow, some way it felt fitting. Like if humanity was going to make its last stand, it would do it like this. Side by side with the animals we were supposed to protect. The alliance we always should have had, if we'd been wiser. Them taking care of us, and us taking care of them. The way it should have been from the beginning. Jim Bell led us. He didn't ride. He walked. Long stride, steady pace, moving like the ground owed him distance. And beside him, the falcon, the one he used to send messages back and forth to the ticket booth. Even on foot, Jim kept up with the beasts as they trotted. If you didn't know him, you'd swear the man had giant blood in him. We reached the ticket booth. We reached the holding cell. And there was Nero, but not the way we'd seen him before. No hostages, no soldiers, no dramatic staging. Just 50 Neros. 50 copies. 50 identical faces. 50 versions of the same threat, sitting inside a cathedral like a congregation that didn't need saving. The moment we stepped through those doors, you could feel it. If you were riding, you felt it through the animal under you. Their fur lifting, their bodies tightening. If you were walking, you felt it in your teeth, in the air. Like the whole place had sharpened. And then the cathedral doors closed behind us. Every Nero moved together. Perfect synchronization. They sat down at the same time, like they were about to listen to a sermon. Jandy stood high at the top, like a queen watching a battlefield from a balcony. Her panther was with her. And because of how many synthetics filled the church, she had more animals nearby too. Her favorites, her insurance, her warning sign. Cindy was there already, seated at the table, across from one Nero who looked like he mattered more than the others. We approached to begin negotiations, trying to make it look like control instead of desperation. Faith sat in the center the way a leader does, like the president of our little troop. And the rest of us positioned ourselves around her, the way Secret Service would, close enough to shield her, close enough to die first. Nero didn't waste time.
So, have you accepted my proposal?
Cindy answered. And if you've never seen something terrifying with a face of innocence, you wouldn't understand what it did to the room. She smiled, dimples, childlike, the kind of smile that belongs on playgrounds and birthday photos. But her eyes didn't match. Her eyes looked like a hungry lioness deciding whether to pounce now or later.
We have. And we've got a couple alterations.
Nero's eyebrow lifted, just a fraction.
Alterations. Let me guess. You want Pace to stay?
No. We just want to make sure we're not signing a deal with two blades on it. People like to hide the second edge.
And she gave him that same crooked little smile. Cute enough to disarm you. Sharp enough to cut you. Nero considered it. Then the negotiations began, long, meticulous, the kind of slow grind that makes your stomach hurt because you know the real fight is underneath the words. They argued boundaries. They defined territory. They carved out what the sanctuary would be allowed to keep, what it could claim as its own. They added protections for the caravan. They insisted the caravan's people be recognized as occupants of the sanctuary. Piece by piece, they weren't just making a deal. They were outlining a country, a future for harvesters and their descendants, drawn in language like a legal spell. But while all of that was happening, the real mission was happening under the table. Faith had her transmitter hidden where no one could see it. She didn't look down. She didn't make it obvious. Just small movements, careful timing. She was inside Nero's code. A private channel opened, and only a few of us could tell, me and Spade beside her. We sat close, acting normal, forcing our faces to stay calm while our pulse tried to escape our bodies. Faith's message went through.
I'm not going with you. Nero's answer came back fast.
I don't think you'll have a choice. We have to finish what we started.
The words looked small, but they carried history. Nero replied like he'd been waiting for this argument.
You started this. I was trying to save myself. You created designs and I used them. And then it happened.
When Faith hit send, her virus began uploading automatically into Nero's system. You couldn't see the code. You couldn't see the infection spreading. But you could see something else. Every single copy of Nero turned and looked at Faith. Not at Cindy. Not at Jim. Not at the beasts. Not at the negotiators. Just Faith. 50 faces, one focus. It lasted long enough that it stopped feeling like a coincidence and started feeling like a warning. 2 minutes of that kind of attention can feel like 2 hours. And then Cindy snapped. She was young. She was brilliant. And she was very, very ready to pull a trigger. She drew her gun and emptied the magazine into the audience. 10 Neros dropped. And instantly, the remaining copies shifted their attention to her. Cindy smiled again, like she'd just won a game.
Good. Now that I have your attention, listen. I take this deal seriously. And I don't think you're taking me seriously when you can't even look at me. I know this might be hard for you to understand, but it's a human thing. When you cut a deal, you look somebody in the eye. You spit on your hand. You shake. You don't stare past the person talking to you like they're furniture.
She kept talking, pushing terms, holding ground. While under the table, Faith kept typing. Nero's private message came through, and even through text you could feel his calculation.
Is this child the leader of your resistance?
No. She's the negotiator. And from what I can tell, she's been keeping you uncomfortable for a while. Must be frustrating. A mind that young, that dedicated. Nero answered like he was writing notes in a lab.
She has improved my understanding of humans, emotional boundaries, spontaneity, how dangerous you can be without warning. This is why synthesis was necessary. Absolute peace. If we did it your way, humans would be violent and live forever. That would create the opposite of what we were trying to achieve.
That line lit a fire in Faith. You could see it in the way her hands moved. Harder, faster. Like she wasn't just typing. She was punching each word into existence.
Stop saying we. There is no we. It's you. You decided this. You wanted this. You're in control of it all. I did not build you for this. I built you to help us survive. I built you to calculate what we needed, how much water a species requires to keep breathing. And you took good intentions and twisted them into something warped. You call it peace. You wrap it in love and prosperity. But it's lies hiding the bloodiest blade. If the Antichrist was real, you'd be it, based on what you've done and how you've done it. I am not with you. I will never be with you. If I had my way, I'd rewrite your code until you never existed. Or better yet, I'd trap you in a box and make you watch humanity prosper the way it was always meant to.
After that, the private line went dead. Faith's part was done. And for the first time, we saw something on Nero's face that none of us had ever seen before. Confusion. Not arrogance. Not certainty. Not that smooth, godlike calm he wore like armor. Confusion, like he'd reached for something invisible and found nothing there. It didn't happen exactly how he planned. Not clean, not quiet. But it worked. Nero at the negotiation table looked around, scanning the copies of himself like he was trying to find a missing piece. The other Neros started glancing at each other too. And then the worst sign of all appeared. They stopped communicating silently. They began speaking out loud. All of them. Together.
Virus detected. System compromise. Communications broken. Reset imminent. Return to source.
Over and over. Like an alarm that couldn't turn itself off. And then they froze. Eyes glazed. Bodies locked. Still repeating that same sequence like puppets with their strings cut, but their mouths still moving. Only one Nero kept moving normally. The one at the table. He stared straight at Faith. And what stared back wasn't calculation anymore. It was hatred. Pure hatred, wearing a human face. He launched at her faster than any of us expected, so fast the room didn't react until it was already happening. Cindy started to move, trying to raise her gun. But Jandy's panther was already there. 2 black flashes. A roar. A collision you felt in your bones. And then it was over. Silence came in like a wave. We sat there with our mouths open, trying to process how quickly death can solve a problem and create 10 more.
Well, I guess that worked.
We exhaled all at once, like we'd been holding our breath since the doors closed. We looked at each other, and the question hung in the air heavier than smoke.
What does this mean? What now?
Cindy stood. She walked from body to frozen body, and she did what someone does when they've learned the world doesn't hand out mercy just because you ask politely. One by one, she executed each Nero that was locked in place. When the last one fell, she reloaded without hesitation. Her voice was cold in a way no child's voice should ever be cold.
We prepare for war.